What's up, y'all? Hope everybody's well. Y'all know what it is. Dr. T. Hasan Johnson. Welcome some of y'all into this special episode of the Onyx Report. So, as usual, been making some massive upgrades to my system. So, with that comes surprises. So, bear with me as I try and walk through. I'm really just trying to make sure I'm on. There we go. Always a surprise or two hidden in there. Make sure some of these sound settings are set as good as possible. Please let me know if you can hear me okay, if my voice is too low, too loud. I haven't had a chance to test it since getting a few things together. So if you can hear me, please go ahead and let me know. You got to put a 1 in the chat if it's clear. If you have any suggestions on making it louder or quieter, let me know. A little discombobulated today. I do apologize, but we're getting it together slowly but surely. Okay. So Damon says too low. Okay. Anybody else agree with Damon? I don't know if that's any louder, but I hope so. I hope it works for people. I appreciate that, DJ Kuda. My mixer died, so I had to replace it, and I didn't get a chance to test it out online to hear how it comes out, how it came out. What's up, Hoops Junkie? Damon, what's going on? Appreciate that, Malika. Good to see you in here. Barry, what's happening? Queen Kalila, what's going on? Taylor, I think I might have saw you a little earlier on Tony Sperling's show, if I remember correctly. Good to have you. Christopher, what's up? Cynical. DJ B-Side, what's going on? All right. Got Christopher in here. Gold Professor, what's up, man? Rodney. All right. So please, go ahead and contribute to the channel if you would. It would be greatly appreciated. Like, share, subscribe. You know the deal. Become a member. Hit the subscribe button. I'll go through that in a second. LAR, what's up, man? Just got through watching you with O'Shea. You doing it? 72, what's going on? Golden Leopard, what's happening, people? So, man, it's been a crazy week, man, and I'm seeing, people. Oh man, people going. Black Goliath, appreciate that support. Obviously today we're going to talk about, fallen soldier, but there's been a lot of that lately. People going down that I just didn't see coming, And Gold Professor, appreciate that support. Brian, appreciate that. It's good to see you in here. Gavin, what's going on? We're going to get to that, brother. We're going to get to that. We got 121. Again, like, share, subscribe. I apologize for the last minute notification. It's been just a little crazy. Rich, appreciate that. So let me get it in here so y'all know the deal. Let's see here. Let's get to our intro. All right, Corey, appreciate that, man. I hope you're well. Haven't seen you in a minute. All right. So we doing it. We trying to get it in. Welcome to the Onyx Report. Damon, appreciate that. Y'all know when you see Wesley, good things are happening, at least in here. But welcome to the Onyx Report, where we uplift black men and boys using critical analysis. We will continue to do that. And I will have some help a little later. But we got to get in some of the things that we get in. So first thing out the gate, please make sure you become a member of the show. Support. You can become a member on Patreon, or you can do it here through YouTube. Rashid, appreciate that. And by becoming a member, you can subscribe, and right next to it, you can hit the membership button right here on YouTube, or you can go to patreon.com. You can support the film review series, which I will be getting back to now that my system is back up to speed, and I'll be recording some videos in the next couple days. So you can become a member that way and support, or you can support the Institute for Black Male Studies through Patreon as well. So keep that in mind and support. What's up, Ian? Good to see you. Sun God, what's going on? Brian? All right. So, all right. Man, I'm hitting all the wrong stuff in here. Oh, man. Okay. So we are getting it together. All right, D-Rock, appreciate that. So y'all know we're starting the Sacred series. I'm working through little gaps here. I apologize, but we're getting it. Anyway, all right, Julian. Good for having you as a member. Appreciate that. All right. That's right. Let's see. All right, so Rodney, appreciate the support. So we starting off with this article on this cat Eugene Goodman, and basically what we're looking at here, if you hadn't run into this piece, this was a brother who was a police officer at the U.S. Capitol during the riot that ensued. You can see it on popculture.com, and of it they say, as more footage from the U.S. Capitol riot on Wednesday surfaces, more stories of those who put their lives on the line to save members of Congress and staffers have come to light. Capitol Police Officer Eugene Goodman is among those who have emerged as heroes. Appreciate that, Dr. Thunder. Good to see you. Again, go to Dr. Thunder's channel. You can catch the interview we did last week. Good brother, so check out his work. So anyway, among those who have emerged as heroes, thanks to a viral video showing him leading rioters away from the Senate chamber. Now this is a trip. This is a trippy video to watch, because when you're watching it, you're seeing a mob of mostly white. Appreciate that, Rocket King. Mostly white, rioters there, and you have this black police officer who's standing there most of the video by himself, and he's kind of egging them on and courting them, but staying enough away from them to keep from getting overrun, and he kind of leads them away. To a certain area until he's able to secure some backup. And it's a real interesting thing to kind of watch. So I wanted to shout him out in terms of Sacred, because he put his life on the line to basically, let it be known that he was there to support in one level or another. But he sacrificed himself in a particular way. Anime Novice, what's up? Appreciate that. Y'all keep getting Wesley on the screen. It's all good. But shout out to him, and much appreciation for the work he is doing. I appreciate that, Barry. All right. So let's move ahead if we can to our special shout outs. Right. First one we're going to acknowledge is classic rapper Curtis Blow. This is a brother who I was able to bring to Fresno State some years ago. James, appreciate the cash out. And, him coming to Fresno State was huge. Very down-to-earth brother, very opening, very welcoming in terms of that. But he recently apparently had a heart surgery, and the heart surgery went successfully. So wanted to shout him out. I hope he's well, and if he's watching, peace to you, Brother Blow. I'm glad you're doing better. Because I think he was having health issues back then. And I do believe I put up a clip of his video very early on in my channel. You can still find it when he came and lectured at Fresno State. And he had a documentary he produced about the origins of hip-hop that included some elements I'd never seen really linked before. But I don't know if he ever released it. So if anybody has any information about that, feel free to share it. right? Check that out. All right, and next up, now this one's personal. You may not be familiar with this brother, but those of you in Southern California, in the Africana Studies community, particularly if you are at Cal State Dominguez Hills, are well aware of Dr. Menashe Furusa. This is a good brother who moved back to Zimbabwe a number of years ago, but apparently, if I'm not mistaken, the day before last, passed away. It said that he had collapsed, and by the time he apparently had flu-like symptoms. By the time he got to the hospital, he was pronounced dead on arrival, but they didn't necessarily classify it as COVID. Nevertheless, I've known Dr. Furusa for at least 20 years, at least. And I didn't know him as a student. I didn't know him even as a colleague, in the sense that I was able to teach at the same time. I think we may have taught at Dominguez at the same time, but I didn't see him much because I was part-time at the time when I was going through graduate school doing my doctorate. I only taught part-times and weekends, but I think he was in the department at that time. I'm pretty sure he was. But I did see him a number of times. But the point is, he and I both studied under the same, mentor, Dr. William Little, who did too pass a number of years ago. So, in a way, this felt like a brother of mine on a couple of levels. So as we were going through, our training, he was a few years ahead of me, a few years older than I. He was full-time faculty, and he was being trained by my mentor hands-on while I was, finishing my doctorate. But he still was a brother, and I just found out, yesterday that he had passed, and that was definitely something that I didn't see coming. And we're seeing so much of that. That's him on the right. Dr. Furusa at one point became dean at Cal State Dominguez Hills. I think he was dean of the College of Arts and Sciences, more than likely. He was chair of the department for some period of time before, another colleague of ours, Dr. Salim Faraji, was able to step in. And I think they have since had another chair. But nevertheless, this brother had just a huge heart. Really put himself out there for his students over the years, which alone garnered my respect. And that had nothing to do with just, how he carried himself, how he was a staunch advocate for black folk, and, family man, father, you know what I mean, raising brilliant kids, beautiful family, and then went back to Zimbabwe and, worked at Africa University, and that's apparently where he was still teaching when he passed. So, excuse me. I just wanted to extend, my best wishes to the family, my condolences, and I just kind of wanted to shout him out because he was an incredible cat, a huge heart, good man, and that's one of the things that I think gets overlooked a lot when we start talking about some of these deaths. Some of these deaths are impact us a little more than others, especially when you know the quality of a person. You know what I mean? And this was a brother that had the utmost purity of heart, utmost purity of heart. So, Dr. Furusa, I wish you well wherever your journey takes you. My best to your family, and thank you for all you did. If you're not familiar with him, try and look him up if you can, but definitely a good brother. Right? So, thank you for bearing with me. Sometimes I try to acknowledge the brothers that have stepped up. Right? And some of them step up more than others. Nevertheless, thank you for that. Okay, so moving on to our current events. I feel like I damn near need another screen in this piece. All right, so let's see. We can start this one off. I think I may have. Okay, I decided I'm not going to do this one. I want to shorten it up a little bit. So we'll start here. All right. Some of you following me on Facebook saw me post on this. And this is apparently a new dynamic happening on CBS. You have Queen Latifah herself, who serves as the program creator, and under the name Dana Owens, her birth name, is also an executive producer. and she is starring as Robin McCall, right? An enigmatic woman with a mysterious background, using her extensive skills to help those with nowhere else to turn. McCall comes across to most as an average single mom who's quietly raising her teenage daughter, but to a trusted few, she is the equalizer, an anonymous guardian angel and defender of the downtrodden, who's also dogged in her pursuit of personal redemption. Oh, man. All right. So, now, I want to be clear, you know. What's up, Dr. Claybrook? What's going on? Of course, man. We got to shout him out. Now, I just want to be clear. Now, I'm a fan of Denzel. I wasn't particularly excited about Denzel, you know, playing a role that was, you know, a white British character in the 80s. Maybe a few of you remember The Equalizer. I mean, the way they did it, he could have been anything. He could have been a new character, and it really wouldn't have mattered. I mean, there really wasn't much about The Equalizer that transitioned into Denzel's performance. Really wasn't much. Not of importance, you know what I mean? It wasn't like he was playing Superman and you kind of had to know the legacy of Superman to appreciate it. It really was. I mean, he could have changed the name. I don't think it would have affected sales at all. I mean, you know, but you know, so that alone, I would have been happy if Denzel did a new character. I was a little indifferent to it being The Equalizer. I enjoyed the series, the 2 movies that have been out, simply because of what they were. But this here, this kind of falls in line with what we've seen and what the trend has been, especially over the last decade. And most people think, well, you know, and I know people know, they associate me with these critiques on women playing masculine roles in masculine ways, you know, trying to outdo men, trying to be more dominant, more alpha, beating up men, you know, 85-pound women kicking 200-pound men through walls. You know, people know I'm critical of that. But I think they miss the point of why I'm critical of it. It's not just because I don't like to see powerful women doing things. No. It's because there's been a transition from seeing, you know, because I think we have a fetish, really, for this whole idea of strong women. Particularly women. I think especially, you know, due to feminism, in the early 80s especially, there's a really fetishized idea about what strong is, right? But I think we've moved past that. We've gone past strong and we've gone to female superiority. And that's what I'm calling out more than anything. So it's not just that you have more of these female characters playing what were traditionally male characters, even though years before that we'd seen a trend of females in positions where they were trying to out male males, you know, in popular media, right? And it got to the point where, you know, if you saw a woman fighting, if you saw a woman who was a fighting character in a film series or whatever, for the most part, one of the going rules was that she never lost a fight, especially to a man, unless it was to another woman, right? So the subtext was that women are so powerful that the only ones that can beat them are other women. But we really understand the underlying logic here. Really what it is, you know, if you have a woman beating up a man, it fits the new dynamic of the time, right? The dynamic of the time is that women are strong, and they're so strong that they're more intelligent, more capable, more physically capable, more skilled in all areas as women than men. It's a fundamental argument about female superiority over male. And you'll see another article I'm going to cover a little bit later that'll highlight that a little more for you. However, it's moved into this area of superiority, and in doing so, it's teaching young women and girls that they are fundamentally better. When I talked about an interview with Susan Vanker and one of the women that was a long-term journalist at Cosmo, one of the things she, you know, I noticed in, I think I talked about it last week in my show, but there was there was another piece to it. I can't remember if it was something they talked about in the interview, but it was about a young woman who, you know, had graduated from an all-women's college. Well, this is something Kev Samuels talked about as well. And she actually talked about how they trained her at this college. And as a matter of fact, it might have also been Gigi. Nevertheless, and I've been watching so much stuff, sometimes it blurs together, and I wasn't even planning to talk about it, but it just popped in my head. She talked about how at this female school, they taught her she was better. They taught her that women were fundamentally better than men. Now, I had not heard that as overtly stated, especially by an all-women's school, but I have seen the like in, you know, women's studies departments, pretty much wherever I've taught, I've seen it, that culture of female superiority. But it has seeped into media. And it spawned a whole genre of Mary Sues, right? You have all these characters that come out of nowhere and they're more brilliant, better, and smarter than everybody, and most of them haven't had training or nothing. They're just better because they're women. And I think that's the piece that I critique more than anything, this female superiority dynamic. And when it seeps into the black community, especially when you're talking about a community where the men are more under fire than really any other demographic on the planet. You know, we can go through the empirical arguments and they reassert themselves at each level. When you talk about black men in the West, the most sought after, underdeveloped, under fire demographic, and what few images they have of a strong masculinity have to yet be undergirded again and again and again for this narrative of female superiority, right? And we can talk about this all day. You already know my thoughts on the Black Panther. If you're not familiar, you can check out my blog, newblackmasculinities.wordpress.com. And I have an article on there that I wrote right after the Black Panther movie came out a couple of years ago, where I go in depth about what my issue is. And we know, as with the comic, at some point they're going to replace him. They're not. Matter of fact, what we've heard recently is they're not even going to replace Chadwick's Panther. He's just not going to be present, right? Even though every other superhero character we can think of has been replaced for a variety of arbitrary reasons. But because Chadwick dies, the character has to somehow be dismissed and falling in line with this female superiority angle, right? But many of us have been waiting since the mid-1960s to see this character on the screen. We got him for a minute, then he's gone. So that said, this trope is fundamentally problematic, and it keeps happening. And of course, it's applauded by the powers that be, and yet the impact it has on boys, is already an issue. So boys can't really even have heroes at this point without them being replaced, right? So, exactly, Rodney. Feminist propaganda ruins a franchise. Absolutely. Right. Yeah, Artisan, I thought you would have been up on this, man. I know I'm not telling you nothing you didn't know about. Yeah, I definitely want to hear your thoughts on that one. But this piece here, right? Video shows white man threatening black Mississippi teen moments before he's killed. And it's not the Mississippi black teen who was killed. Right? Video. So here it is. An 18-year-old Mississippi teen faces the prospect of spending the rest of his life behind bars after killing his white neighbor. But an attorney for Deshaun Douglas, the young teen, said that the teen has for months been threatened by his 54-year-old white neighbor, Christopher Milne, and even filed assault charges against the man. That case was not prosecuted, but Milne was ordered to stay away from Douglas. According to a statement from Scott Gilbert, the teen's lawyer, Gilbert claims Douglas acted in self-defense when he took deadly action, citing a citing a cell phone video that showed the two men scuffling outside of Douglas's home moments before the fatal shooting. Deshaun and his family have been victimized by Milne's threats of violence for months, Gilbert wrote. These threats were not only directed at Sean, but also his 13-year-old baby brother. Right? The publicly available video evidence from December 28th is clear. The shooting occurred that afternoon near Douglas's residence, which was just around the corner from the bank at which officers apprehended him. According to Rankin County Sheriff's Office, deputies were dispatched to the area of Brindlewood about 3:15 and found Milne shot multiple times. Investigators learned that Douglas and Milne were in a physical fight, and Douglas pulled out a gun and shot his neighbor in the chest before fleeing on foot. Multiple agencies worked in tandem to track Douglas down. By 6 p.m., Milne, who'd suffered 4 gunshots, was rushed to University of Mississippi Medical Center, where he later died. One man who witnessed the incident recorded the fight and argument between Douglas and Milne that led to the shooting. The video seemed to show Milne antagonizing Douglas as the teen stood on his front porch. The two could be heard trading verbal threats. At one point, Milne told Douglas, "I'm on your property," then challenged the teen, saying, "Come on, let's go." Douglas, in his video, alleged that Milne threw mud on him, spit in his face. The teen said, "I really should have hurt you, bro, but I'm not going to do it." He's heard yelling at Milne at one point. Milne then lunged at Douglas, gave chase when Douglas walked toward his backyard. The sound of a fight could be heard off camera. Moments later, Milne is seen wrestling Douglas to the ground, and the two men tussled. One man who tried to intervene told Milne, "You're drunk as F," and tried to get him to let Douglas go before the video ended. Sean walked away from Milne just like he had done several times before, Gilbert said in his statement. For reasons known only to Milne, he finally decided to make good on his threats, and he violently attacked Sean, grabbing Sean from behind, wrapping his arm around Sean's neck and wrenching downward in an effort to cut off Sean's ability to breathe. Sean walked away from Milne just like he had before. Let me see. Okay. And so basically from there, he shot him in the chest. Douglas was released from jail on $75,000 bond on January 4th, and his case must now go before a grand jury. Right. So this young man, was protecting his family, and most particularly his baby brother, under threat from a neighbor who was constantly, attacking him. So there you go. But we know black men don't protect. So anyway, I applaud the brother for standing up for his family. I'm not, but I guess these things don't happen from what we're told. All right. This one was a trip, right? With I Hate Men, a French feminist touches a nerve. And this is the one I was referring to earlier when I was talking about misandry in a way, and the feminist approach to the perception of men, the radical feminist approach that seems to have really bled its way into popular culture, right? With I Hate Men, a French feminist touches a nerve. Pauline Armange, I think it's Pauline Harmange, I'm probably butchering that. Anyway, is adjusting to the success and backlash of her debut book, one of a handful of titles from France that suggests a more frank approach to sexism and gender violence. If it hadn't been for a man, her book would have gone unnoticed. The essay, which makes a case for shunning men as a legitimate defense mechanism against misogyny, was initially published in French by the non-profit press Monstergraph. It only printed 400 copies. On the day it was released, last August, an employee of France's Ministry of Gender Equality, Ralph Zermeli, emailed Monstergraph from his government account. The book was obviously an ode to misandry. He hadn't read the book, but he likened it to a sex-based incitement to hatred. He says, I ask that you immediately withdraw this book from your catalog, subject to legal prosecution. The threat backfired. No sooner was it made public than I Hate Men became a cause celebrate in the French news media and brought attention to misandry, the dislike or mistrust of men. It's really the hatred of men. I don't know why they dance around this stuff. As a social phenomenon. French Ministry of Gender Equality, in the meantime, has taken pains to distance itself from his threat. A spokeswoman for the current minister, Elizabeth Moreno, said that she firmly condemned this isolated act and added that Zermeli was in the process of being moved to a different job. Now, understand something. You have a book that's come out, written by a 26-year-old young woman, right, who works with women who have experienced violence, abuse, and in trying to explain, what she's thinking, what she's feeling about this, she comes to the conclusion that misandry is precisely accurate for describing how she feels. The short, fluid I Hate Men is a part of a recent revival of anti-male sentiment in French feminist literature. Like Harmange, Alice Coffin, an elected councilor of the city of Paris, touched on misandry in Lesbian Genius, published by Grasset in late September. While the book is primarily a retelling of her experience as a lesbian journalist and activist, paired with a series of interviews with American LGBT journalists, a section is devoted to men's war on women. Coffin argues that art made by men is an extension of a system of domination and writes that she avoids it. So in other words, this young 26-year-old writer writes this book, I Hate Men. And she's responding to the kinds of things she's seen with the women she works with who have been, have experienced different degrees of abuse. And a government official for gender equality condemns the book. But then he suffers a backlash for condemning it, right? And his own office distances them, they distance themselves from him. So gender equality only works when it works to the advantage of women. And when it comes to men, men can't have gender equality, mainly because they don't even have a recognized gender. And I've told you guys this before, especially on academic campuses, particularly if you're talking about heterosexual men, there's no regarded gender, as it were, especially one that needs study from a gendered context. And you can count on one hand how many departments around the entire country address men and masculinity in its own context, as a department, as a field of study. You can count on one hand. And when it comes to black men, there's only one department in the world, to my knowledge, and that's in Scotland. Right? So here you have a celebration of misandry, right? Which is really rooted in the very same ideas I was talking about earlier. Because if you have a culture of misandry, you are going to end up with a culture, particularly if this is mass distributed in our education and our media, you are going to end up with female superiority as a popular narrative. Right? One that our daughters learn, our sons learn. And I told you guys before, up to the age of 12 or 13, my son had never seen a boy beat a girl or a male beat a female at anything in popular media. Not a chess game, not a tennis match, not a basketball, nothing. Every cartoon that he watched, the women were constantly being shown to be far superior to the men. Even the girls were far superior to the boys. Right? And what I was saying earlier is, of course, we understand this narrative because if the boy or male beats a woman, it's just seen as abusive. It's just, it's kind of dismissed. But if the woman beats him, it's a demonstration of strength. So you have this one-way kind of notion of popular affirming gender, right? But this kind of stuff is acceptable. And in the black community, we see it. We've seen it in a far more fervent way. You don't need a book written by a 26-year-old, even though there are plenty of them that will. On every college campus that I have studied on or taught at, if there is a gender studies department, there's only been one campus I've been to that didn't have it. There was also a culture, particularly among black students, of female superiority and male inferiority. Black men's issues were dismissed. Black men themselves were often dismissed. And this was acceptable. Nobody had a problem with it. All right, let me move along. You guys already know where I am on that kind of mess. This one I found interesting. I thought you guys might as well. Jobless, selling nudes online and still struggling, right? I know a number of you might have run across this one. It's been kind of blowing up the airwaves, as it were, right? OnlyFans, a social media platform that allows people to sell explicit photos of themselves, has boomed during the pandemic. But competition on the site means that many won't earn much. The app was founded in 2016 and based in Britain, has boomed in popularity during the pandemic. As of December, had more than 90 million users and more than 1 million content creators, up from 120,000 in 2019. The company declined to comment for this article. With millions of Americans unemployed, some like Miss Benavidez and Miss Exenberger are turning to OnlyFans in an attempt to provide for themselves and their families. The pandemic has taken a particularly devastating toll on women and mothers, wiping out parts of the economy where women dominate: retail, businesses, restaurants, and healthcare. A lot of people are migrating to OnlyFans out of desperation, says Angela Jones, an associate professor of sociology at the State University of New York at Farmingdale. These are people who are worried about eating. They're worried about keeping the lights on. They're worried about not being evicted. But for every person like Miss Benavidez, who's doing well, I think she made $60,000 last year, and she's able to use OnlyFans as her primary source of income, there are dozens more who hope for a windfall that end up with little more than a few $100s and worries that the photos will hinder their ability to get a job in the future. It's already an incredibly saturated market, Ms. Jones said, of explicit content online. The idea that people are just going to open up an OnlyFans account and start raking in the dough is really misguided. The most successful content creators are often models, porn stars, and celebrities who already have a large social media following. They can use their other online platforms to drive followers to their OnlyFans accounts, where they offer exclusive content to those willing to pay a monthly fee, even personalized content in exchange for tips. OnlyFans takes about 20% of this, Some creators receive tips through mobile payment apps, which aren't subject to that cut. Ms. Benavides earns most of her money that way. But many of the creators who have joined the platform out of a dire financial need do not have large social media followings or any way to drum up consistent business. Let's see. Let me skip down here a little bit. So you're talking about one woman who's 36, has no social media presence to speak of when she joined the platform, and has had to gain subscribers one by posting pictures of herself on Instagram and Twitter and following up with people who like and comment on her post, encouraging each one to subscribe to her OnlyFans account. It's more challenging and time-consuming than she expected and less financially rewarding. She says it's a full-time job on top of a full-time job of looking for work. Fans want to see you post daily. You're always churning. You're always taking pictures to post. She has only made $250 on her platform so far, despite sometimes spending upward of 8 hours a day creating, posting, and promoting her content. Yeah. This is where we are. Right? This is where you are. We're at a point where it's not getting the cash that people thought it was going to get. And we're seeing that it's still a problem, right? So somehow, and some people I remember were bragging about this, and I'm not talking about celebrities, right? I remember people mid last year bragging about how they still didn't need men, right? Appreciate that, Urban Warlock. They still didn't need men. To BGS, don't start, man. You gonna have me laughing. They still didn't need men, and that they were going to be able to to do their thing regardless. All they had to do was open up an OnlyFans account. And I heard many men talking about, this is ridiculous. These women are making thousands upon thousands of dollars. They're blowing up, making six-figure salaries. I mean, y'all were really just focused on the women that already had followings. So, but that's a different thing from everyday women. So apparently, this is not working well for many. All right. And this one here. Now, this one I just saw today, and I added it last minute. A year ago, women outnumbered men in the U.S. workforce. Now they account for 100% of jobs lost in December. For the first time in 8 months, the economy saw a dip in job growth with 140,000 jobs lost in December. All of these jobs, according to an analysis from the National Women's Law Center, belong to women, emphasizing the disastrous impact the coronavirus pandemic is continuing to have on women in the workforce. In December, women lost a total of 156,000 jobs, while men gained 16,000 jobs. Right? Of the net 9.8 million jobs lost since February, women have accounted for 55% of them. December's jobs report shows a stark difference from where women were just a year ago, when for the first time since 2010, women slightly outnumbered men in the U.S. workforce. Now, according to December's job reports, women aged 20 and over have an overall unemployment rate of 6.3, which is nearly twice as high as it was around this time last year. Overall, men ages 20 and over had an unemployment rate of 6.4 in December, with black men's high unemployment rate of 10.4 contributing to this number. Now, understand something. Part of the reason they can make these kinds of statements and kind of, these kinds of examinations is they really decontextualize the data, right? Y'all know, we've been talking about this on the Onyx Report for a minute, right? You can also hear it in other circles, of course, but in over 35 major cities, black males were unemployed at rates over 40 and 50% before the pandemic. So I find these reports a little disingenuous when they highlight how devastating the pandemic is, economically speaking, but only for women. And they do that in a way that completely overlooks the reality of unemployment and homelessness for men, particularly black men, again, which were at already high rates prior to the pandemic. So with the pandemic, how many of that 16,000 jobs that men supposedly got in December, how many of that benefited the massive number of men who were unemployed and homeless before COVID? You tell me. So I'm not celebrating women struggling. Not what I'm doing. But what I am saying is this kind of reporting is disingenuous and dishonest. because it doesn't give you the context for where men were before and during the pandemic, most particularly black men. So they at least mention, you know, the unemployment rate for black men, 10.4, right, in December, roughly speaking, but they are not talking about it with any nuance or any context. And I haven't seen one report written yet that really accounts for what black men have experienced during the pandemic as just its own demographic. Remember, early on, black men my age, middle age, were the ones dying most from this, right? But again, we weren't hearing about employment, we weren't hearing about homelessness or death even prior to that, and how the pandemic made it worse. And so at the end of this particular piece, because there was a lot more I was going to go through, but I'm not going to read it. I will say this much. They say at one point, Latina and black women experienced unemployment levels that were higher than women's overall unemployment code for white women, right? So they do point out that this is racially, you know, there's a racial demographic to this that hits different. But ultimately what the article calls for is a COVID relief package that's targeted at women and child care, because child care is really the anchor that's pulling this down for women. And so they want to kind of relieve those two things, but they want to dance around and completely sidestep the impact that this situation has had on black men and men in general. Right? So, you know, at the end of the day, this is the kind of thing we have to look at. 272 watching. Again, please like, share, subscribe, support the channel, if you will. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call in for some help for tonight. So I'm going to give him a minute. I apologize. I thought I sent this email out with the link beforehand, but apparently I hadn't. And of course, that's when your email wants to act as slow as possible. So the email is sent, the invitation has been sent out, and hopefully he will get that. In the meantime, let me quickly kind of get to some things here. So we will start with the documentary that I need you guys to support. And I don't think it has any sound. All right, that is weird. I don't think I am getting any sound. My apologies, y'all. Some things that I still have to learn about setting this system up. Nevertheless, support the documentary being led by my good brother Green Gorilla. You know, the white people. Was it a Black America? Excuse me, I'm forgetting the title. I'm having a crazy day. Nevertheless, you can look to support the documentary. Go to the Green Gorilla channel. You can also get a link from there to the support link, which I don't seem to have with me at the moment. So I apologize, but support that. Also support the Institute for Black Male Studies, if you will. We are still teaching classes. There's still quite a bit going on, and there are more to come. Right, so we got the Black Male Studies Institute, Institute for Black Male Studies. Thank you, Silent. Appreciate that. And so make sure you participate. Also, don't forget to go to the merchandising link and support it from there. So all you have to do to get to the site, of course, is go to instituteforblackmalestudies.com, and from there you can go ahead and pick up some merchandise and kind of go from there. All right. So let me see here. All right. So y'all know that what we are doing today is having a conversation about a particular brother. And as I said, I wanted to bring up some help to do this. And I couldn't think of anybody better, especially when I found out that they knew each other, than my good brother BGS. Can you hear me, sir?
I sure can, sir. Can you hear me?
Appreciate that, Alpha Sigma. I'm not getting any sound.
Are you getting sound from me?
BGS?
Can you hear me?
Okay, so I see that you're there, but I can't hear you.
Okay. Let me check my set.
Let's see. Oh, no wonder. Hold on. All right, is that... Okay, bear with me one moment. I'm not sure what's going on. I just changed some settings. Can you guys hear me okay? Oh, crap. Yeah, I'm recognizing you guys could hear him, but I couldn't. Let's see. BGS, you there?
I'm here.
Now I can hear you. All right. All right. So let me just check one thing before we continue. Can you guys hear us with no echoes, nothing going crazy? Does the sound okay? All right. So I think we're good. All right. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man.
All right. Epic video you did earlier. I think I hope people can check it out. What was the title of it?
The Real Matrix.
Check out the Real Matrix. Support.
Yeah. You got to come out. You got to go out and come back in.
What happened?
We have an echo. So you got the mixer back, and the old problem back.
All right, hold on.
Just go out and come back in. Yeah, just go out and come back in. Yeah, this is
Is it still happening?
Let's see. Yeah, a little bit.
Good Lord, man!
Don't worry about it.
The only one on YouTube that goes through this mess. I'm gonna try one more time. Okay. Thanks, Julius. Hold on.
Let's see if it works this time. Are you guys getting an echo from me? Are you guys hearing an echo from me?
Is there still an echo?
Huh. Hold on. Let me go back. We go out. Come back.
Okay. I'm not sure what's causing it. Yeah, I'm not. I don't know what's going on with it. So here he comes.
Okay.
Is that how we sound, people? It says only when Hasan joins. Thank you, Snuggle. Appreciate that. Damn, it says echo only when I'm on.
Okay.
Go ahead and say something, BGS.
All right. Let me see if I can turn this off. How about now? No?
It says tune volume down, but I don't know what that means. Is there still an echo, people? And is it me or BGS? Where's the echo coming from?
Let's see. It's
I
one
just
I
want
thought.
to.
So we'll just pause. Is it still an echo coming from me? Because I can't hear it now.
What's jacked up about this is we can be on with no audience and it sounds great.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know what the no means.
No, I'm saying.
So it's no echo when you're when by yourself.
No one or vice.
What's that?
No echo. Where? He said it was coming from that. Okay. Well, we'll work with it.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what's causing it. It says back to echo on docs in. All right, let me see if I can.
Yeah. We'll work with it. Okay.
Okay, I just did some.
Okay, now I don't hear it now. Can you hear me?
I'm being told. I can hear you.
Okay. Okay, now it's gone. I don't know what you did.
And I don't know what I did. Shit.
Oh, don't mess with it now.
Make sure I can hear you. All right.
Okay.
Somebody said perfect. Someone said better.
Yeah.
It's impossible to mute Doc when BGS talk. Y'all are cold, man. I swear they cold. All right. Gone. All right. They say it's gone. So we're gonna go from here. So
Okay.
again, 247. Watch, share, subscribe. All right. So I've been in contact, very occasionally with a brother who many of you, in the manosphere, the Black manosphere in particular, may know of. And he would reach out to me, and he actually started a YouTube channel, but often people would see him in the comments of different people's channels, engaging and supporting. And apparently, I know this may not be the clearest thing to see, but let me see if I can enlarge mine a bit. There we go. The good brother, Force Windu, passed away in early December. Right now, I had a chance to talk with his wife. She actually wrote me from his account, and she extended his funeral information. And so we finally had a chance to sit down and talk. Appreciate the support, ABX. And she let me know that the good brother, committed suicide December 10th, if I'm not mistaken. December 10th, 2020. And she and I had a long conversation about, what happened. Apparently, he had tried a year prior to commit suicide. And she only asked a couple of things. She asked me to not, share his actual name. And, she was very concerned because of the volatility of YouTube and internet in general, that there might be disrespect coming at her husband if too much information was out. So I promised I wouldn't share his government name, but we knew him as Force Window. He had a channel on YouTube called Shatterpoint.
Right.
And, at the end of the day, what she expressed was that the pressure of providing and protecting was something he was good. He was fairly good at. He was consistent. He took care of her. They owned property, but, and he worked as an electrician. He was licensed, certified, and if anything, second of three generations of electricians. One of his sons is an electrician. Apparently, I think he has two teenage sons. But the pressure of it was getting to be too much. She said at a particular point, he texted her a Donny Hathaway song,
Mm.
which, she kind of took playfully, and she sent back a couple of songs for him. But,
Mm.
so he left for the day. He actually commutes 100 miles each way to work. And he left for the day. He was at work, sent her the song. Again, she sent back a few songs in playful interaction, Then he sent a note,
Mm-hmm.
a text. And at the end of the text, she got wind to the fact that something was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, he had sent another few notes to his father, to his kids, and maybe a few other friends. She made it to his job and alerted security, but the place he works was like a labyrinth. So it took a
Mm-hmm.
long time before they could really find him. And when they did, he had killed himself. Now, she asked, out of respect, that I not say how. It's not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily that it's gross, or anything of that nature, or grotesque. It's merely, really more of a matter that his sons, who apparently watch the show and
Mm-hmm.
watch many of the people in the manosphere, including my guest, Master Teacher BGS, um, they did not know how, and
Mm-hmm.
they weren't prepared to hear how he killed himself. So she asked, out of respect, that I not include that, and so I won't. But at the end of the day, the pressure of meeting a certain standard of masculinity got to be too much for the brother. Now, my understanding, BGS, is that you've known him as well.
Yes, yes, he's been on panels, and we've talked extensively, on panels,
Hmm.
and he was really, what we call it, an alpha, really masculine brother, man, really good brother. Always showed support to everyone. Always donated. Always did whatever he could, man, to move the cause forward. And like I said, it's when you first said it, I didn't know what you were talking about. But as soon as you used his call name, his
Yeah,
screen name was Force Window, I knew exactly what it was.
yeah.
And I always used to say, every time we greeted each other, we always greet each other with, let's say, lightsabers lit.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I
Yeah,
was kind of sad.
yeah, it was. Because it was strange, he would usually shoot me a message here and there and tell me
Hmm.
to listen to a show he did, and we'd have a brief exchange, and then all of a sudden I get this in
Yeah.
his box, right? So he's sending this to me on Facebook Messenger,
Right.
and I'm stupefied, you
Hmm.
know. And then she began to write me through his account, and so we
Hmm.
we arranged a time to get on the phone and talk. And
Hmm.
we talked for a couple hours, and she really just kind of explained who the brother was. And so she said he taught Sunday school.
Hmm.
He taught high school at different points. He taught
Yeah.
I think at an adult school,
Hmm.
primarily dealing with electricity and whatnot.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was.
He was big on trying to teach boys and men, man, how to get
Mhm.
into the business, how to make money,
Mhm.
how to raise their standard of living, man. That was so. He was actually dedicated to that. He
Yeah,
actually, that was more important to him than the money.
yeah, yeah. But she also shared with me, some of the struggles. Like, so
Hmm.
she said, of course, so I think he might have started college, but he didn't complete it.
Right.
But he instead decided to go study to be an electrician,
Right.
and he earned good money well enough, as an apprentice.
Hmm.
But she said something interesting. She said the moment he, completed that and
Hmm.
became, and I'm not going to get the terminology right,
A
but
journeyman.
a journeyman. Thank you.
Hmm. Hmm.
When he did achieve that, she said there was a significant drop off in patronage.
Mm.
She said people had a problem with a black man who was fully certified and whatnot. So she said there were several Christmases,
Mm.
Decembers, where he would
Mm.
lose his job in the middle
Mm.
of the
Right.
holiday season,
Wow.
right? And he'd have to shift gears and shift into another line of work. And this is not anything that I mean, brothers deal with this.
Hmm.
But she was just kind of commenting on the toll that
Hmm.
kind of took over time. And remember, he was actually employed when this happened. He was being paid far less than
Hmm.
what he normally got
Hmm.
because of all of the the job losses. But
Hmm.
nevertheless, the stress
Yeah.
of it took
Yeah.
its toll. And that was, as you and I talked about off air, that was one of the reasons, one of several reasons I wanted you here. Not only
Hmm.
because you knew the brother and we could talk about him, but also we could talk about the stress,
Yes.
the strain of it, the consistent kind of strain of it, and also
Mm.
John Henryism. You
Yeah.
know, and
Yeah.
I'm not saying this in any disrespect to the brother. I'm saying this, you know, in terms of something I deal with, in terms of
Mhm.
most black men I've ever met deal with on one level
Mhm.
or another.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
The expectations of others
yeah,
and how we're seeing. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Talk a little bit about that. You know, in terms of how you see this and what you've seen in general. What does that expectation look like,
Well,
and how do we engage it?
because how we serve the women and children is goes to the core of what we think manhood is, and that's where we taught manhood.
Hmm.
And and you know the term alpha means that you can, you know, you're strong enough to take on whatever and
Right,
succeed, and no matter
right,
what the obstacles are. You know, we always say that, you know, they always say you have to alpha your way through it. We say that commonly on, you know, on YouTube,
right,
in the manosphere, that no matter what the obstacles are, it's not an excuse.
right,
In other words, if you got to work 2, 3 jobs, you have to get a trade, you have to take another job, you have to take a second job, not taking care of you and your family and succeeding. There is no excuses, and if you don't, you know, you can get ridiculed as not being man enough.
right.
That everything is always your fault. It's, you
This
know,
is
it's never circumstance. Yeah, go ahead.
this is actually one of the minor tensions between, you know, what I would say the manosphere and black male studies, because black male studies looks at the vulnerability and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes victimization of black men
Mm-hmm.
empirically. We look at that, but the tensions I'm talking about is, you know, often I'll hear conversations where black men have been victimized or are vulnerable,
Mm-hmm.
and before we've even delved into the nuances of what was going on, the first thing I will hear is what he's done wrong,
Mm-hmm.
what his particular weaknesses are. And I want to be clear in dealing with this. Um, I'm not here, nor do I support us dismissing what this brother was going through
Mm-hmm.
and just sitting around highlighting his weaknesses or his faults or what he should have done or should not have done. Now, obviously, I'll say this to those of you who, and you guys know I'm consistent with this, especially during the holiday seasons, because we see the numbers annually go up for
Right.
suicide just on strength of that. But if you are feeling like this, please reach out for support. You know, there are suicide hotlines, there are friends. Do not sit in isolation, and men often do.
Mm-hmm.
We grapple alone, fight our demons alone, and that's because we're socialized to in many respects. We're not really socialized to share in a certain kind of way, and I think there's a way that men can do that that is not affront to masculinity. There's a masculine way we can
Mm-hmm.
engage each other, and we say it all the time. Iron
Mm-hmm.
sharpens iron.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's a way to
Mm-hmm.
reach out and support to one another,
Yeah.
because really, there's really nobody that's going to understand this pressure more than another brother. There's really no one else.
Yeah.
But please reach out. And I'm saying that to those of you who may have been grappling with whether or not to take your own
Mm-hmm.
lives.
Yeah.
You know, statistically, women attempt suicide in much higher numbers than men across the board, across race. Even though suicide rates for women, black women in particular, have dropped in the last few years, but for black men, it remains fairly high, relatively speaking. But and you know there are other groups that are higher. You know, Pacific
Mm-hmm.
Islander, I think, and Native American men. I have to
Yeah.
read.
Oh, white men.
Well, the
No.
numbers especially. You know,
Yeah.
but at the end of the day, you know what I'm ultimately saying though is that you know women attempt suicide in much higher numbers, men
Mm.
complete it in
Yes.
much higher numbers. So you know if you see somebody who's grappling with it, or if you yourself are grappling with it, please reach out for support before you do anything to yourselves. But anyway, back to Force Windu. I think I interrupted you a little earlier. I didn't mean to. Can you
Yeah.
talk a little bit about more what
Yeah.
you?
And I think that what really got him is his own expectations. You know,
Okay.
his own expectations about what manhood was, and he always uh, presented that he's an alpha male. He's an alpha male that can overcome all kinds of obstacles and stuff like that. And the pressure, you know, the pressure, especially in this kind of economy when the economy's not doing well, you
Mhm.
know, nationwide, and him lose, you know, basically the jobs are shifting. You know,
Right.
to drive 100 miles one way for a job, man,
Yeah. Yeah.
that is like that's very stressful.
Mm-hmm.
and being away from your family, and and that's going to cause family friction and all that kind of stuff. And for you to be, consider yourself an alpha male and actually hold to that standard, and sometimes, it's you crack
Yeah.
and you don't see a way out because you've internalized that. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't, hold uh, 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 some kind of alpha feelings within yourself. Be the best man that you can be. I would never say that, but
Right.
there are. I would say there are limits,
Yeah. Yeah.
and sometimes we don't know. Sometimes we don't know where the line is.
And it's especially important too that we look at men who um, don't seem to need it.
Right.
There's something I noticed even growing up, that those that people considered strong or the
Mm-hmm.
strongest were those that people checked on the least.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? The stronger you appeared, the less people associated with you with difficulty, stress, or so on and so forth. So reaching out is important. I'll call brothers and just be like, hey, how you doing? How's your head? What's going on with you? And I don't mean anything negative by it. I'm not assuming anybody is weak. It's just a
Mm.
human level of dealing
Right.
with life, particularly
Right.
through a pandemic. And
Yeah.
again, like the stories I pointed to earlier, how many stories have you seen written on what black men are enduring, especially during this pandemic?
Mm-hmm.
I haven't.
Yeah.
And y'all know I give you guys articles, 10, 20, sometimes 30 articles per show. You know, I haven't seen them. So a lot of these
No.
brothers are struggling in silence, and they're supporting families contrary to stereotypes that we don't, right? They're supporting loved ones. They're supporting, in, you know, when a brother's finally got pushed through past the limit,
Yeah.
people are surprised.
Yeah. Yeah. And you've been socialized to do that, man, to
Yeah.
the point where it messes with your own sense of self.
Yeah.
And I read this in Lucifer Principle that men especially have what they call a kill switch.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If they don't think they're living up to what their idea as a man or their idea as being useful, that the off switch can go off.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And men have to be really careful with that, man, um about these ideas of what you think that you are, what you want um society to think that you are, that you have to work 20 hours a day to be successful so that other people can actually look up to you and be impressed by you and stuff like that, because that's an image, you know,
Mm-hmm.
that's an image. And the higher you go up, the harder it is to actually um, keep that image up, that sense of self up, especially
Yeah.
if you internalize it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now I'm gonna mention a couple of bullet points from my
Hmm.
discussion with his wife just about his life, just so we can have a framework to look at with a little more depth. So apparently, his parents divorced when he was 7. He was primarily raised by his mother. Reconnected with his father at 14. He was married for 25 years.
Hmm.
Right. So apparently now somebody asked earlier what his age was. He and I were born the same year, 74. He's a few months older than I. So he would have been 47, I think. Yeah, he would have been 47 on February 7th. So 46 years old. He's survived by his wife and 16 and 18-year-old sons. So he had 2 sons. Um, they bounced around from Philly to Delaware, I think, at different points in time over the years. And she was telling me, even as far back as the 90s, the various types of struggles that they had trying to buy property and,
Hmm.
trying to elevate the quality of life,
Hmm.
and all the different types of jobs he had to, kind of put himself into, even when he didn't know anything about it, and had to go through the slow process of developing a new skill set in a new environment. But he did it, well. In every venture he pretty much engaged in, but the struggles of it got difficult at different points in time. I think they lost property at certain points over and over again, lost jobs over and over again. But he was the primary, breadwinner, from what I understand. Um, yeah, electrician by trade. He was
Hmm.
part of a predominantly white union, so
Hmm.
there were some tensions with that. Um, Apparently went to college for a certain point in time in biochemistry, but
Mm-hmm.
couldn't afford to finish, so he had to
Right.
drop out and then became an electrician.
Mm.
Um, let me see. Hmm. He apparently, yeah, he ran the young people's ministry at his church, and many of the boys, most especially, really looked up to him. He taught at, he taught, I guess, HVAC at a local university. So, here you have a man who dropped out of college, who began teaching high school and college. Um, in terms of being an electrician. Um, I think he did that for a number of years. One of the things he said to her in the message he sent was that he ran out of time.
Mm.
I thought that was interesting, especially in relation to what you just said a moment ago about the
Mm-hmm.
cutoff switch. So I
Mm-hmm.
want to come back to that. But okay, so yeah, he left a series of notes. Um, in the note, he actually said to her that he wanted her to cremate him.
Mm.
So he was
Wow.
resolute. He
Okay.
was resolute. He knew, what he was going to do. And yeah, she said, so she called 911 and they began to look for him. But yeah, it was difficult to find him because where he works, from my understanding, is kind of like a labyrinth.
Mm.
And he knew that. You know what I mean? He purposely, this is what she was telling me, he purposely found an area that would be difficult for him to find, for anyone to find him in. When he did it, he had slashed his wrists a year
Mm.
ago, apparently, but managed to survive. Um, and she said he had a great love for the manosphere. I think he was. He said at one. She said at one point he was diagnosed as bipolar, and he argued that that was an inaccurate diagnosis, and the
Mm.
pills he had to take forced him to gain a certain amount of weight. And if I'm understanding her narrative properly, they did find that he was correct, that he wasn't bipolar, but nonetheless, the stress of all of this kind of got to him. Any reactions to what I just said?
Uh, yeah. That I think it's the stress to maintain the image that he had for himself,
Mm-hmm.
or maintain the position that he had for himself. Because he always used to tell me that he's an alpha. He's a man's man. He takes care of his family. He works a lot. Like I said, he teaches the youth. That would make sense since he taught high school and he taught the church ministry, and that's the image he was trying to maintain because his image was himself.
Mm-hmm.
So the stress when he thought that he couldn't maintain whatever his goals were. I didn't ever know what his goals were, but
Mm-hmm.
whatever he wanted to attain, I guess that's what he meant by he said he ran out of time.
Mm-hmm.
That he couldn't maintain it anymore. And sometimes with that cutoff switch, you don't think you're useful anymore. You usually hear it with white men a lot.
Mm-hmm.
When they haven't attained a certain level that they thought they would have attained at a certain age.
Yeah.
And a lot of white men will just go off in the middle of nowhere and just do that.
And yeah.
But,
Yeah. Um, I'm still a little taken aback by it
mm,
because, he just came across as a real sincere brother. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And
he was.
I
He
wish
was.
I wish there was a way, that somebody could talk to him. But sometimes it catches up to you at a time where you know people are just not able to reach out to you. So
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
he sounded pretty resolute. He sounded pretty determined. He
Yeah.
was clear. He clearly planned it. I mean, even
Hmm.
when his wife was telling me the story, the
Hmm.
way he even left the house,
Yeah.
there was, I mean, she told me she had no sense whatsoever
Right.
that, he was even in that space until he sent the text message. And that was minutes before he did it. You know what I mean? So,
Hmm.
to actually get up in the morning, get dressed, kiss your wife, and all that kind of stuff, for you
Yeah.
to, there, he was clear. He was clear what he was
Yeah.
going to
Yeah. And he very proud man. Very proud man.
do. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then that's what I got from him. Very proud. That's why I didn't, when it didn't register. until you gave his screen name. I
Hmm.
said that doesn't. And I guess when somebody does something like this, it's somebody that you least expect that actually would.
Yeah.
Because if you had said anybody else, I might have believed you, but for him, it just didn't register.
Yeah. Yeah. I wasn't because it was a Thursday night and it's an off night for my show. I wasn't
Uh
going
huh.
to do an office hours because I didn't know if people's schedules wouldn't permit.
Right.
But Artisan is actually asking for one, so I'm willing to set one up if folks would like. In the
Mm-hmm.
meantime, I'm willing to put the link out if there are a few of you that want to come up and say something. And I say that because his wife and his children will be watching this at some
Mm-hmm.
point if they're not currently watching it live. And because
Mm-hmm.
it's an off night, they may not. I didn't even send the word out for the show on Facebook even until an hour before. So again, I apologize for the disorganization. It's been a crazy couple weeks, but if anybody would like to come up now, I will put the link in the chat. However, there are some rules to this. If you want to critique the brother, then save that for another time.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to condemn other men, particularly black men, for not living up to some mystical standard, this is
Mm-hmm.
not the time for that. What I want to make sure is done here is that the brother is sent off with respect, and I say that because the beginning and the end, for an extended period of time of talking to his wife, she kept stressing how much he loved the manosphere,
Mm-hmm.
how much he
It
loved
was.
listening
He
to the
did.
variety of brothers on here, the subject matter. And he's done videos, or a video in particular, where he talked about the various people whose work he appreciated. So, in that spirit, I want us to make sure that he is sent off well. Okay. Any rules you want to drop in on this, BGS?
No, I think you gave it. You gave them out pretty well, and I think most brothers that interacted with him liked and respected him.
Yeah. Well, so I posted the link. You're welcome to come up in here. Um, and again, as long as you keep it respectful, remember his family's going to be hearing this. You know, and most particularly, I want people to know how much respect that he earned. I mean, really.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I never got a chance to meet him in person, but y'all know the era. There's very
Mm-hmm.
few of us that get a
Yeah.
chance to do that, and we build relationships nonetheless. And I found him to be a very straightforward,
Yeah.
pure-hearted brother.
Yes. Yeah.
You
Very
know,
very
very,
giving, very loving, and love to advocate for black men and advocate for black, especially black boys. And I think that's where we connected. He
yeah,
really wanted black boys to get training, and have a chance, and be, grow up to be better, grow up to get the live the lives that they don't normally get to live.
yeah.
So.
Well, Kill Deuce in the comments, and I'll open up an office hours link, and I think there I can go into more detail about what happened. But on the public stream, his wife asked that I not share how,
Hmm.
because she's still in the process of talking to their sons, and the sons didn't want to know how. They didn't even want to read the note that he sent because it was just too much.
Hmm.
So out of respect to the family, publicly, I won't go into details as to how. So we got Malika, we got Officer Faulkner. Starting with Officer Faulkner, anything you want to say on this, brother?
Oh man, this is devastating to hear. He was truly a good brother, man.
Yeah,
He was truly a good brother. He's always jovial. He was a big supporter of the Great Faulkner Initiative. He was just like DJ said about being an alpha. It's it's funny that as men, and especially as black men, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves. And it's not even condoning him, because guess what? We don't know the burdens sometimes we put on ourselves, let alone each other. And he always had my respect, always had a kind word, always was upbeat, very supportive brother. and I want to say this for everybody out there, because it comes to home a lot, and I know this from experiences, dealing with great stress. You are not an island among yourselves, please. If you're having feelings of anything, stress, turmoil, confusion, grief, talk to someone. It's better for you to talk than to let it dwell and let it eat you up inside. I will respect anybody. There are people who have my number and they can call me anytime if they're feeling like this.
Yeah.
And Force was always, oh man, he was a great supporter. Man. He donated, he participated, heart goes out to his wife and his kids, man.
Yeah, definitely. Malika, you want to jump in on this?
Peace, people, peace. My heart and my prayers go out to him and his family, especially his young sons, because they're young alphas following in their father's footsteps. He was a brother that loved the manosphere, but also we love him back too.
That's right.
And it's kind of hard because brothers, we don't talk about suicide, and we're not supposed to even think this. But I contemplated it, and I almost went through with it about a year and a half ago. And when I was not to take the spotlight off Brother Windu, but I felt his pain because I was struggling, a man in his 40s going back to school, trying to make ends meet and trying to pay for school. And it was just there. But you know what saved me? The manosphere. Y'all brothers saved me. Two voices were in my head and one face.
Yeah.
Juan Valdez's face and his voice, and BGS's baritone voice.
That's right.
And that kept me going. And I remember it would just go in my head. I would see Valdez's face frowning up, telling me, come on. And BGS's deep voice saying, come on, keep going, keep going.
Right.
And like Charles said, we need to be accountable for each other and have each other's back, because no one's coming to save us. Like GG always says, there's nobody coming to save us. This is something very big that's not talked about in our community, especially with Black men.
Yeah.
And it's glossed over. And it's a shame because even our own women only cry for us when we're gone. No one cries for us when we're going through our turmoil. And this was a beautiful brother that, he was a normal, everyday brother doing what he had to do. This brother had talents. He had a trade. He loved his wife. Even when he gave her the message, he still loved his wife. And he was showing that he had his love for his wife, which shows that we do love you women. But it was just the pain that he was going through, and nobody doesn't know our pain. And this is something that we gotta, really, when we're speaking that of our pain, do you understand the pain that we go through? But then it gets glossed over, and somebody says, well, you don't know my pain. It's like, wow, okay, now we gotta weigh what's pain. But this is another young, beautiful Black man that's not here with us.
Yeah. And what you said was so pertinent, because it brought me to that scene in Fences that everybody saw in the trailer before it came out. Everybody loved it, where he's talking about his pain, and she says, well, what about me? I'm standing right here, and there, at that point, it couldn't be about him. It couldn't be something he was trying to explain. It had to immediately shift over to her. So there's no space in really the kind of national imagination for what men are grappling with. Let me see. We got. I'm gonna just go straight down the line. Let me get Gigi. You popped in, man. Anything you want to say on this? Can anybody else hear him?
I can hear.
Okay, I can't.
I can hear. Dr. Johnson.
Yeah.
I don't hear.
I was asking, can you guys hear Gigi? Because I can't hear.
I don't hear Gigi.
No, I can't.
We can't hear Gigi. No.
Okay. All right. So Gigi.
Hey, Big Jess, how you doing?
Pretty
Can you
good.
hear me now?
Yeah, we got you.
I can hear you now.
I'm sorry. Let the other brother speak and then I'll come in, man.
Okay. So who was up?
Edward Bailey.
Oh, Edward. Go
Uh,
ahead, Edward.
well, I have been dealing with certain mental issues ever since I was a child growing up in Little Rock, Arkansas. Um, I remember when my younger brother was being bullied, and I beat the bully to a pulp and everything. I had a problem with anger. That's when I first got dealing with the psychiatric system
Mm.
in Little Rock, Arkansas. And there was some teachers and counselors that were trying to get me to take Ritalin. And my mother, Florine Bailey, Amen Ra, bless her soul, knew there would be a harm to me as a young black man.
Mm-hmm.
So she told the counselor and the principal this. I said, if you try to give my son this medicine, you're gonna need some medicine when I knock you out with this right hook. If you ever try to harm my son again.
Okay.
I'm 51 years old, and when I was growing up in the 70s and 80s, black women were feminine wards of their sons.
Mm.
They even respected and protected the masculine principle of their sons.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike the way that these single mothers behave. Because when I had problems and when she couldn't deal with me, she sent me to my Uncle Lester Williamson.
Mm-hmm.
When my dad, Edward Bailey Sr., wasn't around, my uncle was the one that raised me.
Okay.
And here's the thing. This mental health system in America is not geared to help, black men, because this mental health system is based on the dysfunctional Eurocentric mindset,
Right.
which is unholistic. Because, like I explained to one young brother, matriarchy and patriarchy are Eurocentric terms.
Okay.
When you look at the statues of Asar and Aset and Abu Simbel, they're sitting side by side. Asar is not behind, neither is Aset, they're equal. That's a holistic lifestyle where the masculine and the feminine were given the same honor and respect. It's sort of like in Taoism, yin and yang.
Mm-hmm.
When yin and yang are in holistic synergy, they form a Tai Chi. So the yin is the female chromosome, the X, and the yang is the Y chromosome. So when they form a child, that's a new baby boy that's a Tai Chi. So we all Tai Chis deal with this masculine feminine principle.
Okay.
And that's the thing. I told a friend of mine that I wanted to be a master teacher of the martial arts so I can be a mentor and trainer of black boys and raise an army of select alpha male warriors. Because see, a true alpha is hitting on all cylinders: mental,
Okay.
emotional, physical, political, and economical.
Yeah.
In ancient times, they were known as the adepts, the sages.
Yeah. But we're trying to stay on point
Now,
though about this brother. So we don't want to drift
okay,
too
but
far.
it is sad what happened. It is sad what happened to Force Windu, because I checked out some of his content. It's very excellent content that
Okay.
a lot of American black men can relate to. I wish I would have been on the panel with him before he passed, and it's unfortunate. So peace and blessings, Amen Ra, the sun God, be upon him.
Okay.
Yeah. It's really sad because that's why we as black men, American black men, need to network more in a more holistic collective.
Yeah. That's true. All right. All right, Gigi.
Man, I'm flabbergasted by this all,
Mm-hmm.
I shout out all the members, man.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, bro.
Yeah.
I ain't even trying to do all this shit.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I just remember, every show, man.
Mm-hmm.
Force Windu,
Mm-hmm.
Lady Miss Thing, Green, BGS, Ibmore, and Marvin Battle Jr. I remember his name.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a member of my channel, man. And so
yeah,
I didn't even know, man. I had no knowledge of the fact that this brother had passed. I just felt that, he just dropped the channel. You know what I'm saying? Maybe he didn't like the content anymore, but
Mm-hmm.
it's just because, you know, men suffer in silence, man.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's what Tommy Curry tries to talk about, that we're vulnerable.
Facts.
And you know, the whole point is, you know, we keep trying to live up to these ideals of manhood
Mm-hmm.
that are unrealistic given the situation that we find ourselves in this country.
Mm-hmm.
And man, that brother, man, he was there all the time, man. I just remember seeing him in his wrench,
Mm-hmm.
you know, in his icon. And it's hurtful, man. You know,
Yeah.
I didn't know he was going through that. And,
Yeah.
you know, sometimes we're harder on each other than anybody else, man. We clown each
Right.
other sometimes and, you know, speak derisively about each other. And, you
Yeah.
know, we got a lot of, you know, negativity to speak about our own selves. And, you know, it's supposed to be a support system, you know what I'm saying? And
Right.
oftentimes it becomes a capping session, you know. And I don't know what the new no cap is or whatever, but the old capping is just joning on each other, you know, and
Mhm.
assaulting each other, you know, psychologically.
Right.
And man, I just feel for that brother, man. I didn't know he was struggling with those issues.
Yeah.
And we got to be careful about what we say to each other and what we do,
Yeah.
and leave open lines of communication, man, and continue to talk about how it can happen to any one of us, man. This society can break you down. And, you know, it's just hurtful, man, to know that brother,
Yeah.
you know, he didn't feel like persisting anymore. And this society will make you feel like that, bro. And, you know, I know what it feels like to be like, man, I can't find a way to, you know, to raise up, to lift up. Even I'm trying my hardest, but no matter what it is I'm doing, it's not good enough for anybody. And then, you know, we just got to look out for one another, man.
Yeah.
You know, we have to look out for one another. And you know, my condolences go out to his family, his friends, you know, his sons and his wife.
Yeah.
It's a hard knocks life, man. And if you got a problem, anybody out there, man, like the stress is beginning to take you over, man, talk to somebody, man.
Right.
You know.
Well,
And
I do want to say, I put it in the comments and I'm going to say it on the air. The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is open 24 hours a day, English and Spanish. The number is 800-273-8255. Right? 800-273-8255. We've all wrestled with these demons, but when you're in a particularly weak position, you know what I mean? When you're feeling the weight of it more than ever, it's important that you reach out, you know what I mean? And contact somebody and kind of reconnect with people because, you know, as Gigi just broke down, it can get to us. I mean, for me, you know, I've had my bouts with it. I've come,
Yeah.
you know, especially, you know, the key points in your life when you're particularly vulnerable, you know, especially when my wife passed, I thought a lot about it. You know what I mean? And for me, believe it or not, it was a KRS-One song where I kept hearing, you know, the name of it was, you know, or the chant, you know, of the song was "Stay Alive, All Things Will Change Around." The song was "Oh Yeah," but that stayed with me for years, just in my head, just that, you know, the refrain, "Stay alive, all things will change around." And sure enough, whenever I had a problem, if I just stayed alive long enough, it would shift. But it's hard to remember that in the middle of it when you know, especially 3 a.m. sitting in the dark dealing with those demons by yourself. It's hard to remember that.
Yeah.
Black Uru, you want to say anything on this, man?
Oh, thanks for having me up, Dr. Johnson. I mean, first of all, I you know, I want to thank Force. Spent a lot of time talking with him, mostly on panel on Roger Report panel. A lot of very wonderful discussions with him about family, how he spoke so lovingly of his wife. I imagine his wife, the way he described her, I imagined her to be sort of like a almost like a fairy tale figure, the way he described it.
Mm.
How he spoke of how much he loved his sons, how much hope he had for them. There was a kind of lightness to his voice. You know, when you hear that kind of lightness, it's hard to imagine that this is what he was struggling with.
Right.
And you know, I mean, you've been in the virtual presence with him.
Right.
You know, you haven't been in tangible, but you're in this virtual, you had all these conversations. And now you're kind of left with all that time we talked. How come I couldn't have helped him?
Yeah. We're a band of brothers. Yeah, we become a band of brothers.
I can't believe that he's gone.
Yeah.
It reminds me of an old saying. The problem of being the world's strongest man is that nobody ever asks if you're okay.
Real talk.
Facts.
Yeah.
And the shit that this hurts.
Yeah.
This shit hurts. And what makes it hurt is that I've always went through this notion that anytime you meet a person, you never know what they're going through.
Right.
Therefore, you never know what words or what anything you can do to change their life for the better or the worse.
Mm-hmm.
And even in my line of work, where I had to deal with people who are going through issues, it doesn't mean you're crazy. It doesn't mean that you're... Everybody has a bad day.
Right.
And just talking to people, sometimes you realize that sitting down and talking to people just to let them get it out, and you keep a lot of people from going over the edge.
Yeah.
And I take pride off of knowing that there's some people that I can help. I wish like hell one of us, any of us, could have talked to him, and just, even if it was just a phone call, YouTube, if we just could have private messaged anything. And this goes for any goddamn person listening right now.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be afraid. There is no shame admitting weakness.
Yeah.
There's shame admitting strength when you know that you're not strong.
And let me just say this, man. You know, I'm in a fraternity filled with men who consider themselves to be the most alpha of all alpha men. You know, I'm in a fraternity called Omega Psi Phi, man. And you know,
Right.
Through days of joy and years of pain, you know, that's one of the things that we know about. And it's not unmanly to cry. It's not unmanly to talk to others about the problems that you have. It's not. And you know, there are going to be many men who consider any show of emotion to be a weakness.
Yeah.
Or, you know, to show any pain to be a weakness. But we're human beings, man, at the end of the day. And it's only so much any man can take. You know, there is a tipping point. And we have to be understanding that, you know, a lot of us are faceless here in this space. And so we don't know who each other are. And it's for various reasons that this is done. But, you know, we got to learn how to show each other some respect. We have to learn how to show each other some empathy. And that's one thing I can honestly say. A lot of times we lack the capacity to show each other empathy, predicated upon these notions of what manhood is that were given to us by people who don't even care about us. You know? And so it's my hope, man, that, you know, if anybody else, you know, is going through some issues or some struggles, to reach out to somebody that they trust so that they can get some help, you know, because this world will beat you down. It'll make you feel like, why am I here? What is the purpose? And to admit that is not weakness. It can be a source of strength for you to carry on, you know. So it's
I
just
just want to thank, of course, his wife and of course his sons for sharing him with us.
Yeah.
We really appreciate your family. We really appreciate the wonderful spirit that he provided to this environment. Of course, there's nothing we can say to soothe, your loss at this time. We'll just pray for you and know that your husband and your father's presence here, it was a great contribution, a great help to many, many, many men who had the pleasure and honor to listen to him and observe his presence. He will be missed, but more importantly, he will be remembered.
You know what, brothers? What the Manosphere was the force, man. It was healing for him. It was a place for him that he could re-energize. He could feel the love and the kinship of men. He loved it so much that he was dedicated to us. And this is what I think we need to learn, how a man was so dedicated to us, and his wife and his children want to share his passing with us. And this is what we need, just like how Gigi said, we need to stop, with the insults, the capping, the joking and talking bad about each other. Like, that's cool. But when we really, really need to get down to it, like Sheep Stay Sleep said, man, we got to heal before we build.
Yeah.
This brother need real healing, but he came here. But at the same time, Black men were not allowed to speak our pain. We're not allowed to talk about what we're going through. I mean, we have an elder among us, BGS. It was just, every Friday and Saturday was a healing for me. Every Friday and Saturday was a healing for me. Like, when I would go into school on Sundays, I would listen to his stream, and that would heal me and get me through the day. I mean, I have to say this, in the past 5-6 years, the manosphere between BGS, between you, Dr. T, between Charles, between, Kendra, between Angry Man, all of you guys helped me become a better man. Just because of the love, and just because, you can stick your head up high, poke out your chest, and just proud to be a man, proud to be masculine. And, I would never heard of Tommy Curry and purchased the Man Not if it wasn't for Dr. T. Hasan Johnson. I would have never understood the full validity of anti-Black male misandry, not coming from a hate, but just coming from the understanding, like, yes, there's a psychological problem among our people where our women have this disdain for us. And we was like, come on, ladies, stop. We have a beautiful man that's not with us anymore because of the pain of what's going on in our society.
Right.
And I think, and I don't want to just put this out there with everybody, but 2021, the manosphere, and especially the Black side, we need to be more of helping brothers instead of knocking each other down and putting divides of who wants to do this, who wants to do that. No, man, this is a brother that, how many more of us we got to go like this, man?
Right.
How many more? I mean, how many more? This was a young man. This was a man that, he was only a couple of years younger than me. And he has 2 beautiful sons. He had a beautiful wife. And as a man, and this is a man that revered his wife, revered his children. And just the pain, just the internal turmoil of his pain. And, we go through pain. A lot of us going through pain. And especially with this corona situation where, it's making us even more go through pain. But instead of dividing and we worrying about this and we worrying about that as Black men, and we don't like this. No, 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 no. How many more of us going to die? How many more of us in this manosphere, in this section, are going through something? A lot of brothers that were popping up saying they contemplated suicide or have actually been through it and they stopped, and I contemplated. If I hadn't, if I did what I did, man, I would have seen the ripple effect of how it affected. Look at how this ripple effect of this beautiful brother is affecting us.
Yeah.
We got to use this platform for more than just capping and talking crap about women, and because one side is this and one side is that. No, we got to use this power for something more than that.
Mm-hmm.
We got to try to help each other, man, and try to heal each other. Help heal each other.
And that's an excellent point about what we can do with this space. It is important for men to be able to speak in ways that we've not been allowed to, but we also have to be responsible for what we say and do, most particularly with ourselves, with each other. We got to be able to use this space to not only, sharpen swords, but to build support, build that brotherhood. And I also want to say I'm also a huge advocate of giving people their flowers. Now, we might need to come up with another way to put it, but y'all know what I mean. I believe in giving people their flowers while they're here.
What mom said.
Okay?
Yeah.
What was
My
that?
mom said, "Give me my flowers while I live."
Absolutely.
That was her saying.
I'm a big advocate.
Give me my flowers while I live.
Because here's the thing, we don't know what people are going through, and just like with Force, you don't know when they've hit that tipping point.
That tipping point, yeah,
You
where they
don't know when it
switch.
is.
Yeah.
So you need to, when it crosses your mind, do it. I said this, I think it was last week. I was pointing out, a former student of mine, an elder, who passed away. Now he passed away due to cancer, but my problem was I didn't, I thought about him in the last couple of years, but I didn't take the time to just call the brother and and thank him for just engaging me the way he did. It just didn't dawn on me to do it until I found out he was passed, and I was like, damn, I missed the chance to at least engage the brother. So I'm saying that here. I'm a big advocate of giving people their flowers when they're here. Don't make the mistake I did a couple of weeks ago of not reaching out. Somebody crosses your mind, definitely do so. And I even used to tell my students, I'd give them an assignment as an excuse for them to get out a video camera and record an interview with the elders in their family. I did the same thing with my grandmother, and when she passed, I was able to give my mother hours worth of footage of her mother talking about her life. So things like that help us connect, I think, are important. But yeah, definitely give people their flowers when they're here.
Yeah, that's the one thing during the Coliseum, what the brothers always did. If some brother needed to get something off his chest, man, we would actually literally stop everything. And so he would be present, so we could actually talk him through whatever he's going through, man. Lots of times, man, like in the mid-morning, wee hours, man, we'd be on for hours, man, and the brother would come in, and you know how you get that, you're up like 3 o'clock in the morning, that witching hour when you're thinking thoughts about how sad you are and how your life is and what you're getting ready to do and you don't want to go anymore. And we would stop for hours and just, talk the brother off that wall, So,
well,
and I think, go ahead.
In the spirit of giving flowers or honors, I mean, BGS, the manosphere comes from the Coliseum. I mean, the evolution of this environment, Dr. T. Hasan Johnson, Dr. Curry, GG, you raise the esteem, the perspective, the expectation of this environment to a degree for which Black men of all sorts could come in from all backgrounds, from all perspectives, professions, could come in and place their swords at the round table and engage and converse and quarrel and commiserate and celebrate and congratulate. And I, for one, am forever appreciative of what you did there.
Yeah, can't do it alone, man. Can't do this alone. No, I just opened up a space for people to come in and talk. That's why the Coliseum was like that, man. There was no structure. There was never a subject, and it was always open to whatever people wanted to talk about. And that's what it was for. For people
Can I
actually
say something,
dialogue.
brothers?
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, BGS.
Oh, go ahead.
I want to say something to Brother Force's sons.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want his sons to take this in vain. Your father was an awesome man.
He was.
He's just a man that went through problems, and this is something I want them to know as young black men. We black men go through issues, and they're going to go through trials, tribulations, and turmoils.
Mm-hmm.
But let this be a lesson not to let this get to you.
Mm-hmm.
These men that are among us and that you're listening to are great men, and they form you. And you have to understand, you have men from all different social, economic, and education backgrounds. And the thing is, we don't throw that in each other's face. We come here as men that because we love each other and we want men to progress. And the thing is, we're putting black men first because we want each other to succeed. And it's not just succeeding in this life. We want you, the next generation, to succeed. And I urge you, brothers, to find other brothers to connect, but also listen to brothers like Dr. T. Hasan Johnson. Definitely listen to brothers like Angry Man. Definitely listen to brothers like BGS, Charles, and Gigi, because what we want you to do is think. One thing that I always loved about BGS, and I always love this, and I love this about you, you always force us to think.
Mm-hmm.
And you always you don't give us the answer. You let us think about it. And even you challenge us on the actions that we make. And that's the thing what men need to do. And that's the thing what fathers need to do. And that's the thing what mentors need to do. And that's the thing what we as black men need to do.
Right.
And that's just the beautiful thing. That's why I love how the way we've grown and not being snobs about intellect or scholarship or because who makes this much money. No, this is about like how brother said, we are on a round table like King Arthur.
Yeah.
There's no equal sides. It's all round. We come here and we speak from the heart and we speak from the mind. And even if there's beef, all right, let's grill it and get it over with.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah, that's one of the things that I think that needs to be done. We need to have an institution or some sort of ritual where if there are some disagreements or something like that, brothers can work it out. But more than anything else, we need to be attentive to the fact that we're human beings, man. We all have weaknesses, and that it's okay to be worried. It's okay to feel pain, and to process it. And it's okay to not make fun of somebody because they're going through pain. It's not a strength of a man to ridicule another man because he's down. That's not a strength of a man.
Facts.
A strength of a man is somebody who builds people, man, not destroys. So we need to keep that in mind, man, as we venture forward, man. And I know my show is raunchy. I do a lot of yelling and screaming and fussing and cussing and stuff like that.
yeah.
I try to do that in order to keep a common touch. Sometimes it can be off-putting to people, but man, this space is a good space, man. We can do great things with the space. The only thing I just wish we would do is just understand that we're not machines.
Right.
No,
We can't alpha through everything every day, all day.
Right.
The human body will break down. The strongest man, Ronnie, what his name? Rodney Coleman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That man broke down.
Yeah.
It's another brother who has the video. I command you to grow. I forget what his name is. I can't remember at this time, but even he broke down.
CT Fletcher.
Yeah, CT. Any man will break down. You're an organism,
Mm-hmm.
and you need a community to thrive in. So, Either we can create a thriving community, man, or we can create a community filled with contempt,
Mm-hmm.
and enmity, and that ain't positive for no man in this world, man. Especially us, man. All the stuff we got to deal with day to day.
Yeah.
So to internalize that same kind of mindset, man, it's just not positive. So
Yeah. And then that's the thing, because I always used to get uh, um, comments or disagreements about what the manosphere is and how it should progress, right? And I always, whether we should focus on business, whether we should focus on politics, whether we
Right.
should focus on something else. I said, basically, unfortunately, the brothers use the manosphere as a group therapy session,
Mm.
to get for some place where we actually display our demons so we can actually exercise them. And that is the mission of the man, especially the Black manosphere, where brothers can come together and actually trade experiences. No matter how much you make, or whether you're homeless, or whether you're a millionaire. We got millionaires in here, right? We have people that can barely rub two nickels together. But the thing is we all have a common experience. We're black men in America.
Mm-hmm.
We all go through this.
Mm-hmm.
We all go through. We all have the same image about what America thinks that we should be.
Yeah.
Regardless of what we go through, regardless of how we're brought up, regardless of how we're socialized.
Mm-hmm.
And only this space recognizes that.
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
This is one of the reasons y'all know I don't double down heavily on religion or politics, because I know those are dividing concepts, especially for a group of brothers that are contemplating whether or not brotherhood should be.
Mm.
And so we're at a time period where every time I reintroduce brotherhood, there's always somebody saying, "Well, is it worth it?" So you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
not
we know.
trying to divide. I'm trying to bring brothers together because, as we often say, ain't nobody else coming,
No.
right? So,
That's
but
why
we got
SBM.
AB
For real.
Media joined in. You got anything you want to say, man?
What's up, Albert?
Hey, I just want to send my condolences to Forrest Windu's family. And I just flipped on the screen a few minutes ago. I'm a little shocked. I'm in shock a little bit. What happened? What happened to him?
Well, December 10th, the brother he committed suicide at work.
Oh,
You know, he contacted his family by text, and you know, he let his loved ones know he cared, and he had some choice, a loving word to them, but where he basically said goodbye. So I had a chance to speak to his wife, and she kind of explained how that went. She had no idea that morning. She only began to kind of suspect something when he sent her a Donny Hathaway song, which wasn't something, I guess, that he did in that way. So it was different. And then he sent her a note, and apparently he sent separate notes, individualized notes to his father, his sons, and I guess a few other loved ones. And then, she called 911, and apparently where he worked was kind of like a labyrinth. So it took a while for them to find him.
Oh wow.
So she was sitting in the main office, I guess, with security waiting to see if they could find him, because she was trying to get to him before he could do anything. And she said by the time she saw the detective and the chaplain come walking into the office, she knew he had taken his life.
Man.
I just want everybody to promise me one thing. If you're going through something, talk to somebody, man.
This is why it's important for more brothers to get together behind the scenes, not just on YouTube.
Right.
Trade phone numbers, trade emails.
I think a lot of brothers, for some reason, they forget the duality of Superman. You have this godlike power.
Superman's weakness is only kryptonite was Lois Lane.
But guess what? Even Superman was smart enough to know that he had to take the persona off and be his regular self as Clark Kent.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
See, even Superman was not afraid to show his humanity. And black men in America, for the longest time, were never taught their humanity.
Facts.
And I think one of the criminal things is that we get caught up into this alpha BS. We can't be weak. We can't struggle. We can't go through, we can't talk. When we see another man who looks like us, we're adversarial. We take that as a challenge that somebody might know something that we don't. Instead of actually sitting down and actually learning, appreciating, enjoying life. And a lot of these times we live up to expectations that we know are unrealistic. But illogically, we still carry on with it. See, a lot of times, like they said about the swords, some days I don't even put my sword on the table. Some days I'll put my sword in the damn dirt. Not all battles need to be fought. And we need to learn that. Sometimes you need a release.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be ashamed of your hobbies. Don't be ashamed to be human. If somebody cuts you on the finger, do you not bleed?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Do you not get sick?
Right.
Do you not fall in love? Are you human? See, the one thing you don't hear anymore is that I am human.
Mm-hmm.
We need to respect it and treat each other, especially yourselves. We're harder on yourselves than anybody else. And that's not fair. You're going to fail. Sometimes there's beauty in failure.
True.
There's a reason why I love to laugh and to joke. Because you never know who needs it.
Right.
Sometimes you got to just go in the mirror and laugh at yourself. Enjoy yourself. Enjoy the fact that you're a finite being in this imperfect world. And enjoy every second of it. Do yourself a favor tonight. Text, if you're close to your loved ones, hug them. Tell them that you actually love them and what you love them for. If you're not close to your loved ones, text them, call them.
Mm-hmm.
But most importantly, tell yourself that you appreciate, you admire, and you love yourself.
Yeah, the last thing I want to say, and then I'm gonna sign off, man. Black male studies is, a discipline, man, dedicated towards just basically exploring issues about black male vulnerability, man, racial vulnerability, sexual vulnerability, and economic vulnerability. And I know we don't like to identify ourselves as weak in any way, but if we start looking at these systems and these institutions critically, we'll understand how they're implemented in order to break us down. And we need to try to find a way to combat against it. And so, my condolences go off to that brother's family, his sons, his wife, his next to kin as well. So, this is a wake up call, I think. Kind of like a clarion call, man. That, we don't know what any of us are going through behind avatars, behind
Right.
shows and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to be a little bit more careful about how we speak to each other, and we can uplift and encourage each other. We can do that. It's possible for us to do that instead of just issuing platitudes to one another and being callous and careless. We can uplift each other. It's possible.
Right.
And so, thank you for having me on, Dr. Johnson, man. Y'all be peaceful.
You as well. What we're gonna do is I'm gonna give we got Screwball in here. I'm gonna give him a moment to say a few things. I'm gonna let y'all close out. We're gonna close it out, and I will open up office hours for members. just go ahead and check the community tab on my page for the link. And then we can discuss in more detail some of the things that I can't share publicly. And Jita actually said in the comments that the wife, Force Windu's wife, contacted the Roger Report that day, but they thought it was a troll and a prank. And I did too. I would have, I should say, but she reached out to me through his Facebook Messenger.
Oh,
And I
wow.
know it was him because the earlier messengers in there were from him directly about his channel, Shatterpoint. So when she reached out, she gave me this program for his funeral in his Facebook Messenger.
Oh,
And so
man.
I
Damn.
reached out and we actually had a conversation from there. But I hear you. I would have thought it was a prank too, otherwise. But so it looks like we got Screwball and Ian. So if you guys could be kind of brief, brother Screwball, anything you want to say?
I just want to say my condolences to him and his family, and may they find closure eventually. But I personally, someone who suffers from mental illness, when when we go through things like this, when we reach that breaking point, sometimes we feel like there's no other way out. So it's kind of hard for us to and our thinking is kind of warped like that. And sometimes when people talk to us, when they say certain things, it may not register right in our heads because our thinking is so warped. So it's just a lot of pain that we go through, and sometimes we feel like nobody understands us, no one can comprehend what we're going through, and given the stigma, seriously, the stigma towards mental health is still alive and running, and that needs to be tackled immediately. I'm thankful I have like a support network, because I still have like siblings who like call me every once in a while just to check on me, see if I'm doing all right every other day. I'm grateful for that. But sometimes when they say certain things, I say like, whoa, stop. It doesn't come out. It just, it's, bear with me. I'm trying to get the words out there. It's just that sometimes when it's just that like when sometimes somebody says something, it could be open to misinterpretation, and it just affects us in a different way, especially if you're like extremely vulnerable. And I know it's hard for people to reach out because all of us are afraid that when we reach out, we're afraid that the person we reach out to and express our vulnerability may use that against us. That's another issue that a lot of brothers have to deal with.
Very true.
That's why a lot of brothers are so reluctant to reach out
Facts.
to other people.
Facts.
I mean, I've made that mistake many times in my life, and I've contemplated suicide many times in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Something just like kept stopping me from going there.
Mm-hmm.
But it's serious. I just want to
Yeah.
say, just y'all, just reach out to each other, be more compassionate, be more understanding, be more empathetic, because we all we got. Y'all
Yeah.
got. Y'all is what you got. Thank you.
Real talk.
May rest in peace.
Okay. I'm gonna bring up Ian. If anybody has any, sounds going on in the background, make sure you mute up. Ian, you have something you want to say on this?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I got teary-eyed and everything. I didn't know Forrest Windu, but I would always see him in the comments, and I could kind of feel his spirit. And I just want to say, just come out and say, I love you. BGS, love you. GG, love you. All the other guys in the Manosphere, just for participating. I love you guys too. I appreciate you guys. That's it. That's all I got to say.
Hey. All right. Anybody got any closing thoughts before we close out?
I have a closing thought. That term, alpha and beta, that has nothing to do with us. That's a Eurocentric thought process of a culture that has nothing to do with us. But as men, we need to learn how to serve each other in a holistic manner where we address each other's mental, emotional, physical, and political and economic needs.
Mm-hmm.
We need to be able to serve on all cylinders for each other, not just chatting to YouTube, but trade phone numbers, trade email addresses, meet in person.
Yeah.
Learn how to break bread in the streets instead of just breaking bread on social media.
Right.
That's where that's where the healing starts between the brothers.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what's cold about what you just said, and this is a real crass thought, but I remember I was watching a YouTube, content creator, about 6 months ago. And I just had this passing thought that if he died right there on air, what could be done about it? Who would I know to call to come in and get him? You know what I mean? Like it just, we're connected to each other in a way, and in a way we're not. So I think about those kind of things. If something happened to me right now, you all could watch it, but
there's
who
nothing
could
we can do
actually
about
reach my family? You know what I mean? No, so I appreciate what you said, man. Anybody else, BGS, anything you want to say before we close this out?
Just the force, man. May the force be with you, man. Lightsabers lit.
Yes, sir. All right, fellas. Like I said, I'm okay. Wait, we got one more brother that came in. Yes, sir. Sheed.
What's going on, fellas?
All right, Sheed.
Hey, Sheed, what's going on?
Yeah, man. I didn't want to get this news like this, man, because this was a good brother, man. I was hoping that everything that I was hearing wasn't true.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I was just listening to you talking about reaching out to guys. That's why I kind of deal with a lot of guys in my city to try to reach out so we can have some type of communication and dealing with each other, because ultimately if something do happen like this, that I can reach out and express some type of feeling towards them or either the family or something like that. We have an understanding, or we kind of have mutual friends within a circle to where we can work with each other. And the things about that happened with him, man, I just hated that he wasn't able to kind of hit with more guys to where we can kind of talk.
Yeah. All right, fellas. Like I said, I'm gonna put the link in my community tab. Give me a couple minutes after I close off here to do that.
All right.
And we'll go into more detail for everybody else. Appreciate y'all listening. Let me get to my closing. Y'all know how we do. I'm here to tell you, brothers, we are not criminals by birth, perennial rapists, incapable intellects. Oh man, sorry. Man, children, sperm donors, child support wellsprings, success objects, walking phalluses, ATM machines, lottery tickets, brainless henchmen, valueless assassins, pro bono mercenaries, unpaid bodyguards, interchangeable stepfathers, child discipline proxies, unpaid repairmen, workhorses, emotional tampons, or any other socially accepted dehumanizing stereotype. We are thinkers, inventors, innovators, leaders, fathers, warriors, and men. Embrace your humanity, know your worth, and extend your time, attention, and resources only to those who genuinely respect you. And remember, your worth is not defined by meeting other people's narcissistic, selfish, and unrealistic needs. You define your worth. And I want to also say to all of you out there who are fighting these demons, do not do it alone. Connect. Call your brothers. Call those that love you. Call those that care, especially those that have a track record of doing so. Reach out. Despite what it feels like in the moment, there will come a time where you will not feel this way. You will not be dealing with these circumstances. It will change. Peace.
Peace.